Welcome to Breaking the Standard, where we are closing the communication and knowledge gap for the small business government contracting industry. I'm Aubrey Gainfort, and today we have very special guest with us, Haley Boulanger. Haley, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on your show today, Aubrey. Very
No,
excited to
I'm
be
really
here.
excited to have you. If you could just do us a favor for my listeners and introduce yourself, that would be great.
Absolutely. For the past year and a half, I've been a research analyst with the Pulse of GovCon, which is a technological research and advisory firm. We like to say we put the human element back into government contracting by turning data into action. So, as a small business employee myself, I'm one of four. I wear lots of different hats, which I'm sure many listeners can relate to. Research is obviously my specialty, market research, which I'm here to talk about today, spending and contract award data, agency information, all that great stuff. But I also work on proposal efforts and various trainings too. So what I really do depends on the day, but everything revolves around federal research and putting those puzzle pieces together.
Yeah, that's awesome. Pulse of GovCon is actually one of our sponsors, so we love Pulse of GovCon, and it's amazing all of the different things that you guys do and provide. And since you already touched on it, we're going to be discussing today the hidden gems of market research. So why don't we start on market research? Like, what is it, and like, why does it really matter, especially in this industry?
Of course, always love starting with the definition. Of course, it's hard to give a definition for market research. In a sense, I could phrase it as a systematic process of obtaining, analyzing, interpreting data for actionable decision making. It sort of gives you the lay of the land and where you currently stand in it. In this case, in the federal contracting industry, but it's also more specific to your business's niche as well and the product and services that you offer to the government. Market research can answer questions like how much does the government spend year over year on the services I offer? How does my target agency typically acquire my services? Who else is competing in my space and how successful are they at it? There's so many different ways to view and analyze the market. You can do this like from government wide, meeting the entire federal GovCon landscape and trends. There's department specific, which is helpful when you're interested in working with a specific agency. By industry, we can look at relevant products and services and their PSC and NAICS codes. Geographically is another one. This is necessary for hub zone companies, obviously. Or maybe you're a GovCon who's thinking about expanding and you want to know where you should establish a new office. The last like big one that we cover a lot is policymaker priorities. Again, there's different levels to this as well, like the executive office and the president's management agenda or agency head priorities, or maybe you're interested in state or local initiatives too. So people probably do market research every day, but you just don't think of it as being market research. Like looking up an old opportunity to see what the requirements were, that's market research. Checking agency forecasts for new small business set asides, market research. We ask and answer these types of questions constantly, but we don't always talk about the processes, intent, and like maybe other ways to use the available information.
Yeah, I think that's really great examples because a lot of times I think people are more familiar with market research that's conducted on the government side when you're building, or looking, to prepare a requirement. But I think very fewer times is it discussed when industry is doing market research for the government and, different requirements that might be coming down the pike or places that they can look to see, if what your business currently offers is something that's needed and wanted in the industry, or is it something that's already done so much that maybe you want to try and pivot and see if there would be another way for you to have that, type of opportunity. But where can businesses go? Because I know there's some very common ones, which I think is where businesses might get stuck. But like where would you recommend that businesses go to look for those types of opportunities, especially the hidden gems that a lot of companies might not know about?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a bunch I'd love to get the word out about. Yeah,
Mhm.
like you mentioned, we all know the basics like SAM, USA spending, apexes. I'm not here to recommend those. We all know what those are, what those can do for you. But there are some unique and more niche ones that or communication platforms even that I think are underutilized because not too many people know about them. We track so many different sources. I have a list of around 100 we have recorded, and that's both
Wow.
government and private ones. Yeah. And we're still finding new ones. Literally last week, I stumbled across one that's already proven to be super helpful. It's a single web page where you can sign up for email subscriptions across a bunch of different federal agencies. It's a little tricky to find. There's no permalink. You have to register for a single newsletter first, and then it will bring you to like a, hey, you should check out these ones. And that's where that very long list is. So I think I signed up for a Department of Labor newsletter and then got to that second page where they had, like CMMS, more labor ones, HHS, like all different things, different sub agencies as well too. I think I signed up for maybe 20 all at once. You just click the little box and then I got 20 confirmation emails, which was a little much, but it gets tedious having to check like 100 plus sources. So it's nice to have a way to have information come directly into your inbox. A tip though I learned is that if you're doing this and you're signing up for 20, 30, 40, 60 of these all at once, if you have more than one email, maybe make a second one. If you don't, use a less popular email address that you can direct all of these newsletters coming in, because it can feel like spam sometimes. So I've already gotten way more than 20 emails a week just from the ones that I signed up for. And you don't want like other pressing things getting lost in all of these newsletters and things. So that would be a good way to filter them out. And then you can dedicate some time each week to reading them. I personally like Friday afternoons because they're typically calmer and it's still a productive way to close out the week, and set yourself up for success on Monday. So that's been a fun one. But again, tricky to find. So if you can't, please reach out to me and I can help you
Mm-hmm.
get there.
So,
Another, yeah.
sorry, I have a question for you. So do you find that like the website you're talking about where you can sign up for, a bunch at the same time? Because I'm wondering if people might think this while listening to this. Is a lot of the information like repetitive or overlapping, or are they different? Because I'm thinking if someone's saying, why do I want to sign up for more than one thing, which I think is a great idea, is the
Mhm.
information different?
Yes,
Okay.
there's all different ones. And then within each agency, they're broken out too. So I think I signed up for like a labor like specific to DC events, labor upcoming opportunities. Some of them are more like the services they provide, like if you're on like disability or social services, like they'll give you information about that. So there's some that are less like acquisition focused, but there are definitely ones that are specific for like upcoming events, industry days, things like that that you might otherwise not know there's even newsletters for.
Hmm.
You can definitely pick and choose and then sort through which ones prove to be helpful. Then you can unsubscribe and go from there.
Okay. I interrupted you, so please keep going because there's clearly a ton of these.
Oh, absolutely. I could talk all day. Another good one that I like is the Federal Acquisition Institute, or FAI.gov. That has over 50 training courses for the federal acquisition workforce. So that's a great tool for understanding how the acquisition workforce is being trained. Um, so, like we mentioned earlier, how differently the government approaches market research acquisitions. This is a good way to get inside their head, kind of like reading the FAR, but without having to actually read the FAR.
Mm.
There's tools inside the Federal Acquisition Institute, like the periodic table of acquisition innovations, and then they have playbooks, which are really useful because they detail case studies for different acquisition methods and outcomes. This in particular can help contractors provide reasoning for acquisition strategy recommendations during the market research projects, like when responding to an RFI. GSA pricing is another cool one if you know what to do with it. This is the one-stop location for contract and task order pricing information for GSA vehicles and purchases. And it's actually made up of a bunch of different tools like FAI. My favorite is the Calc feature. Calc is contract awarded labor category. It's a great pricing tool that helps find awarded prices to use for labor contracts. So you can see your competitors' prices if they won with GSA and
Hmm.
compare your own to see if you're pricing yourself out or maybe you're underestimating what the government is willing to pay for your services.
That
Another
is
one,
that is I feel like something that could be talked about for a really long time just itself because pricing is tough, like how do you find that baseline to then make sure that you're not, selling yourself short or not making any money, but like not overshooting it so much that you're going to lose because it's just wasn't, competitive when looking at all of the other vendors. So I've heard about it from the gateway side, from the government side as an opportunity to be able to do market research. And I think it's very helpful for you to look at market research while you're doing the labor because you can kind of kill two birds with one stone to see what's utilized and have your like baseline. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that because that's not something that gets talked about a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. And that information is just out there. You can go look at it, poke through it, see, you have, oh, this person, I lost to them last time. I wonder why. Maybe it's your pricing. And I personally don't touch on a lot of pricing. I'll do like compliance check pricing occasionally. So I couldn't say I understand all the ins and outs of it, but I know that's a great place to start.
Yeah, these are like so great and I'm sure that once people find them it's like how did I ever live without it? But all of the information that Haley's giving, I'm going to link in the show notes and it would be really great to start there, but then also just go contact all of the wonderful people at the Pulse because they are very helpful and they always want to help, especially in this industry because they all love this industry. So, what's a couple more that you have that you could suggest?
Yeah, for sure. Another one that's great for looking into other GovCons that helps small businesses find opportunities. SBA maintains Subnet, which is a searchable database of available subcontracting opportunities. SBA also has a subcontracting opportunities directory by state, which can be helpful, again, if you're thinking about the hub zones and those types of geographical places of performance. And there is a subcontracting assistance directory that gives you people you should reach out to if you have questions about subcontracting, which is very interesting and can be super helpful, especially for these small and new market entrants who are looking to build some past performance as subs.
I didn't
And
know about that one. I actually didn't even know that it existed. Subnet. Hmm,
yeah, so SUB like hyphen NET.
hmm, hmm. All right,
Very
well, how
cool.
about one more?
I can keep going. There's so many more that are specific to various industries and agencies. There's earlier this week, Amber uncovered the HHS employee database. She has apparently been after this for years and it was elusive, but this is super cool because you can search a person's name, sub agency, or job title. So, yes, you can get the name and contact information of anyone and everyone who works at HHS with the word contract or procurement or acquisition in their job title. I typed like contract and it maxed out with still in the A's. So there's so many people out there, and we know how hard it can be to find contact information for your target agencies. So obviously, it's not an open invitation to start spamming COs randomly. That's never a good idea. I'm not advocating for that at all. But if you notice the same name popping up on past requirements in your space, you could probably get their email address there. I definitely wish every agency had one of these.
Yeah, I could see how that would be really beneficial for, companies just even doing like soft research or wanting to introduce themselves to someone. And there are a lot of times where unfortunately you try to find someone, it's not the correct person, and they like kick the can down the road and you don't really ever get the chance to connect with someone to find out more about the requirement or the customer and be able to use that to your benefit. So I agree. I think that there should be something like that for every agency. So hopefully maybe they'll do that and follow suit with HHS. So with all of these awesome resources that you've talked about, why is it so important, you think, for industry to actually use these resources? And like what difference do you think it would make for companies on potential like opportunities in the future?
There are so many benefits to using as much information as is available and out there for you. Number one, you'll save time. if you know where to go and what information various resources can offer. You won't have to go, oh man, I wish I could find this HHS employee's job title. You'll know to go to their employee directory and you'll have an answer in seconds. Or you'll know, oh, hey, they don't work there anymore. Now I need to find a new POC. From there, you can also make a more effective communications plan. Once you know what federal agencies are buying what you're selling by researching the trends, you can pinpoint who is doing the buying. Then you can build a tailored communications plan to begin outreach to those POCs. Being attention about who you contact, especially in the federal contracting industry, absolutely results in a more impactful sales and prospecting process. By tracking these POCs associated with the entries in your pipeline, both current and historical, your team can begin, you have a little lukewarm entry instead of a freezing cold call there. But another tip I would recommend is keeping track of the inactive POCs. Don't delete them, make a note, because if you see the name pop up elsewhere, you'll know if they've left that agency or they went somewhere else. So that's also a good thing. Same with opportunities, no bids. It's a great record why you no bid them. So you can save yourself time in the future and be like, oh yeah, duh, we can't do that one. Or we're going to save that and we're going to build up until we can do that one. So keeping track of the no's and the inactives is so important. You can also find opportunities before they're available. You know the saying, if you're seeing an opportunity for SAM on the first time, you're too late. But market research, you can study procurement forecasts, take a look at different reports. You can scrutinize federal documentation like the budget and performance documents, both on the federal and agency level. GAO material, see where agencies are not doing so well, and then say, hey, I see you keep failing at this. I can fill that need for you. And that's a great white paper cold call opener. And this also helps you think like the government and predict where and when things will become available. Market research also allows you to make informed decisions, like I mentioned before, when deciding to bid or no bid on an opportunity. Like if you do decide to bid, all of your market research on the funding and awarding agencies is going to shine through because you've done your research, you know your customer, you know their long-term goals and their current needs, you know if they've met these needs in the past, so you can show how you would be an improvement, or if this is a new requirement and you can show your expertise. The agency is more likely open to suggestions if you believe there's a better way to structure the acquisition too at this point as well. Also, tailoring your communications plans goes back to learning the language that your targets speak. My most common example is defense and military vendors use a much different vernacular than civilian agencies like COs or KOs, because CO means commanding officer in the defense world. But even civilian agencies do this. Every agency has their own acronyms that are common language in their own little world. So if you can familiarize yourself to show you've done your research and are ready to jump in and work, you can throw these acronyms and buzzwords to personalize your capability statements and outreach too. And then they'll ding in their heads and be like, oh, hey, this person knows what they're talking about. I love that. Lastly, all of this can tell you where you might want to grow your business. You might notice your capabilities are often bundled with something you don't offer. You could take that into consideration. You could decide to expand your business to be able to offer those services, look into a long-term partner for subcontracts, maybe a joint venture, maybe in a merger or an acquisition way down the road. So seemingly small and random observations have the potential to snowball into these big actions that gives you growth strategies and opportunities. So you really don't want to miss out.
All really, really great reasons. And if you're listening to this, you might probably just need to pause, go back, listen to that again, and then like take a lot of notes and then keep going. Because that's all really, really solid golden advice that regardless of what stage of your business you're at, you could apply to continue to grow, refine, and redirect if you need to. So that's all so great. These two questions I ask everybody on the show. So if there is any advice you would give to the small business government contracting industry, what would it be?
I don't think this is going to come as a surprise based on everything I've talked about today, but do your research. Market research is not something you do in January for a week and then you forget about it all year. It is continuous. You have to keep updating yourselves because opportunities drop every day. Agencies release their strategic plans throughout the year, whenever they're ready. forecasts update, some update every week, some update every month. So you have to always be updating your information in your database and your knowledge repository too. The earlier you can get started on this, the better. And there is so much open, free, readily available information out there from both the government and private sources. So there's kind of no excuse not to get started on this. Your federal sales strategy is not going to be successful by simply locating opportunities on SAM and USA spending. You have to be able to monitor and analyze multiple sources for the federal customer activity and trends to be sure that they're in line with your goals. Because a no can often be as profitable as a yes. You can double check against other .gov sources, like comparing USA spending with FPDS or SAM. You can look at an agency's procurement forecast and go and see if they've acquired anything similar in years past. I'll tell you right now that the numbers and information is not always going to match. Data caveats are a whole other beast, but even recognizing that means that you understand your market a little bit better. Market research is super daunting. Yes, it took me forever to learn FPDS. I mentioned some websites that have a bunch of tools like FAI and GSA pricing. You'll have to poke around and see which ones are more beneficial to your business, kind of like weeding out those email subscriptions that aren't super relevant to you after you've seen a couple. So give yourself time and grace to learn and become familiar with these new interfaces. Click random links, click all the buttons, search random keywords, see how the information presents itself, and then what there is to offer until you're comfortable utilizing these resources.
Awesome. And if our listeners want to get in touch with you, what would be the best way to do that?
Email or LinkedIn is best. My email is, I know it's going to be in the show notes, right? Haley.Boulanger@pulsegovcon.com. And you can easily find me on LinkedIn by searching my name or going through the Pulses page. I'm happy to answer any questions I talked about today, or any resources I mentioned, how you can make the most of your market research, or anything else on your mind. I know I threw a lot at you.
Yeah, so I'm going to link the information that Haley shared in the show notes, as well as her contact information and her LinkedIn profile, so you can go get in touch with her. If you have any questions on anything you've heard today from Haley, please shoot me an email. And if there's anything that you haven't heard me talk about on the show that you want to hear me discuss, email me at breakingthestandard@gmail.com. Make sure to go follow us on Apple and Spotify, subscribe to our new newsletter, and connect with us on LinkedIn. Until next time, bye.